on? What's going on? Oh my gosh. Welcome everybody to the greatest show on earth. My name is Rudy LaRose. This is Back to Talk 2023. And guess what, baby? I'm in the building tonight, and I'm excited to have on live right here, right now, my man, Chris Cruz in the building, y'all. Y'all don't even understand. Listen, iHeartRadio ain't got nothing on this, right? Because tonight, we're about to get heart level, baby. That's right. We're about to get heart level. And I'm excited to have each and every one of you watching from wherever you're watching tonight. So, welcome once again to Confidence Factor Talks with your boy, Rudy LaRose, Bobby B, Darren Hill. Shout out to Lamont Gwynn. Shout out to Dr. Javon Jones. Shout out to the Unleash Your R.I.C.H.E.S crew. Y'all know who you are. Man, it's coming soon, baby. It's coming soon. I can't wait to see y'all in a few weeks. But, man, I'm excited to be here, man. Before we get started, I need you to do a huge favor. Before we get started, I need you to go to www.streamyard.com/Facebook. Put in your information. Connect StreamYard so that we actually know who's commenting, because otherwise we have no clue. So be sure to do that, www.streamyard.com/Facebook, and connect your Facebook to StreamYard so we can see who is commenting. And of course, if you're watching this replay, I need you to put in hashtag replay. If you're watching the replay right now, put in hashtag replay so we know who's in the building tonight. And of course, last but not least, if you are resonating with what we're talking about, if you're like, you know what, Rudy, man, what Chris just said a few minutes ago, and I can resonate with that, I can vibe with that, that really touched my heart, that really blessed me, whatever, put in hashtag heart level, so that we know that you are impacted, you are affected by what we're saying. And of course, tonight, we're having heart level conversations that are lead the transformation, aka with all my partners in the building. What's going on, Mr. Bobby B, Mr. Darren Hill? Talk to me, fellas. Talk to me.
Hey, Darren doing the thing, man. Do the thing, D. Show them your moves. Hey. What's up, good people, man? Today is a great day.
Heart level. I'm feeling that. DJ. You know, I'm trying to be like, I'm DJ.
Run the track, DJ. No,
let me hear my voice. What's going on? It is another Tuesday night. I call it Transformation Tuesday here in Confidence Factor. And man, it's a special occasion as always. I'm happy to be here with you, brothers, of course. This is a special night where we get together, as my brother Rudy says, to have heart-level conversations that lead to transformation. So you're here to listen in, because as you guys know, as a community of men, as a community of entrepreneurship men, we're here to impact the lives of over 5 million men. You heard that right, 5 million men. And we want you guys to share what we're doing, because there's this narrative out there that men don't have conversations.
They don't talk. Yep.
They don't talk. That's what they're saying out there in the public.
Unless we're talking about girls, beer, and cars and money, you know what I'm saying?
They said we don't have conversations, so we decided, you know what, we're gonna take it up a notch. We ain't gonna just have conversations. We're gonna have heart level conversations that lead to transformation. You understand me? We're gonna have conversations that are meaningful. We're gonna have conversations that changes lives. We're gonna have conversation that up levels, your success both personally and professionally, right? We're gonna have honorable conversation. We're going to share stories, right? We want to be in a conversation that leads to transformation. And listen, here's the thing. Everything starts with a conversation. Yeah. Everything starts with a conversation. And as we know, as men, typically we hold things in, right? That's the typical thing. Things happen and we hold it in. But not here in this community, not here in Confidence Factor. We are empowered men. We have conversations. We speak to our brothers. We educate our community. We unleash our riches. We're here to what? Develop our riches. And when you hear the word riches, you're probably thinking, okay, you're just talking about money. Of course, money is part of it. That's part of the equation, of course. But what we're talking about is our relationships. We want to up level on our relationships. We want to up level, of course, in our income. We want to up level in our contribution and our community involvement. We want to, of course, the greatest wealth is your health. So we want to up level in our levels of health. We want to inspire you and encourage you to take care of your health. And of course, we're always looking to what? Invest in ourselves. You know, Albert Einstein said the greatest investment that you can make is in yourself, right? Is in yourself. Is in knowledge. And of course, last but not least, the foundation of everything is your spirituality. You have to have a good spiritual foundation upon which everything is going to rise, right? So that's important here in our community. So that's what we're about. And we have an enemy out there. There's an enemy called the lid, right, that we're fighting. And there's a lot of kids out there that, you know, at different stages of their life, they could be starting their career, they could be starting a business, it could be, you know, at the mountaintop in terms of making a lot of money in their business or just doing things in life that you would deem to be successful. But inside there's something missing, right? They have their success, but there's a lack of fulfillment. They feel lonely, they feel isolated, they feel like they don't matter. And so we want to create a space that is not just about having success, but also having fulfillment, right? That is critical, okay? And so what I mean by that is that you feel successful, not just you are successful from an external standpoint. You feel like you are amazing, not just like, you know, people tell you you're amazing. You feel that for yourself. And that's part of what we call our SMART principle. We have this SMART principle that we really adhere to in this community. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about, number one, self-mastery, right? That's where you get that feeling to have that self-mastery. And tonight we're talking about breakthroughs. We're talking about breakthroughs, which is really, really critical. Specifically, right? Breaking those boundaries that we set for ourselves, right? Breaking those boundaries and rethinking the limitations that sometimes we put on ourselves. Okay, so this is a powerful conversation with a powerful guest. But that goes into what I was saying, that self-mastery. You know, having these conversations with experts, with mentors, but also having these conversations with yourself. We teach men to have empowering conversations with themselves to have that self-mastery. Of course, the other thing we do is all about accountability, because we can make promises of the things that we're going to do, but the reality is oftentimes when we make commitments to others, then we tend to follow into our goals. So we want to lock arms with the men in this community to support them on their dreams and their goals and create a space of celebration, collaboration, and contribution. And last but not least, resources and tools. So tonight, of course, we're sharing some resources. We're bringing on some expert guests. And of course, we're always sharing tools that you can use to up-level your life personally and professionally. And like I said, tonight, we're talking about breaking boundaries, right? We're going to rethink those limitations because we know that it all starts in the mind. All right. So my brother Bobby B, what's going on with you, man? It's always a pleasure to have you here, and I'm excited about this conversation with this guest tonight, my man.
It starts in the mind, baby. Cue the mental alchemist, baby. I switched the name on y'all. Y'all didn't even peep the new name change.
Man,
alchemist. The alchemist, right? Because that's that mental transformation we're doing. And, you know, it's possible for all of us, man. It's possible for all of us. So, you know, again, shout out to Lamont, the producer. Got to make sure we shout him out loud and clear because he's not here.
Shout out to Lamont.
Handling business.
Brazil.
Okay. Shout out to Brazil. Shout out to Africa. Shout out to Belize. Wayne Moody is always in the building. Shout out to Wayne Moody. Shout out to the Unleash Your R.I.C.H.E.S crew.
That's
Those
right.
guys out there, the boys doing their thing out there. So listen, and shout out to Dr. Love Jones, man. Shout out to Dr. Love Jones. Listen, guys, what's your victory for the week, man? Tell me what your victory is for the week.
Oh man,
what happened this week that you like? Yo, this is.
Let me go first on this one because I wasn't sure if we're gonna get a chance to share. Let me hurry up because we want to get to our guests. So listen,
go ahead. You got 5 minutes.
you know, life has its ups and its downs, right? It got the peaks and its valleys. And we're talking about breaking boundaries tonight, right? So you know, this past week, actually, I think it was Monday, I found myself in a funk, right? I found myself in a funk, fellas. And here's what. So I was in this funk, man. I was in this state of feeling this. Things ain't going right. You know, that's the conversation. That's the inner jerk conversation, right? Hold on, I think I was stuck there. Inner jerk conversation. And I stopped for a moment, and I said, okay, no, I don't want to be in this state. So I asked myself a powerful question, and this is where breaking some boundaries and breaking throughs comes through. And I asked myself a question. I says, what are you focusing on? I said, Darian, what are you focusing on? And what I realized is that I was focusing on things that weren't complete. And because I was focusing on things that weren't complete, guess what? I was feeling overwhelmed. I was in this state of overwhelm. And so as soon as I recognized that, I said, hey, Wayne Dyer says what? If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. So guess what? I shifted my focus, man. I shifted my focus, bro. And all of a sudden my state changed because we know, hey, progress equals what happiness. So of course I wasn't feeling happy because I was focusing on what was going wrong or what I didn't complete. So I was feeling overwhelmed. As soon as I shift my focus, boom, all of a sudden, man,
it was a wrap.
It was a wrap, my ship. So that's my win, man. I caught myself in a moment, and this is why personal development is so important, right? It's not when everything is going great. It's not when you're on top of the world, right? When everything is good. It's in those moments when you're down. It's in those moments where you lose your enthusiasm, that you remember a resource or a tool or a thing that we share here in this community that gets us dropped, that you get to use and then transform, and you have a breakthrough. And that's what we're talking about tonight. So that's my win, man.
Hey, and that's the powerful thing what you're sharing, right? Because what happened is the habit kicks in.
Listen, come on.
The emotion. Now, listen, the emotion is temporary, so it can't sustain itself, right?
Yeah.
But the habit will kick in. Is like, yo, you need to listen to something. You need to call somebody. You need to let it out. Me, I'm gonna take a bubble bath. I'm gonna take a listen. Listen. I'm telling you, I've been doing the complete opposite of what I used to do. I used to get in the uproar. I used to get in a rage. Why is this not working? And get angry. Now, Lamont at best. Lamont say, I go take a nap. Do something relaxing, right? Because you can't do nothing in that state. You can't manifest in that state. You got to change your state. So, Rudy, back over to you, brother. What was your victory for the week? What happened this week?
Man, mine was simple, man. Sometimes it's the simple things that makes a difference for me, right? So I go to park somewhere, and I park my car, paid the meter or whatnot, and then I'm walking towards the area that I'm going to. And then I see a closer parking. I'm like, oh man, there's a closer parking, right? So I run up back to the car, and I'm looking at the cars coming. I'm like, okay, all the cars keep passing that parking space. So I got it. I go and pull up, and then sure enough, the last car that passed me came and parked in the spaces that I wanted. And the thing is, it's a one-way street, so I can't even back up to go back to where I was. I would have to go all the way around and come back and hope that space is still available. But guess what? Sometimes God says, not this one. I got something better for you. Just chill out. It's going to be okay. Just chill out. Sometimes I got something better for you. And so I kept on driving, and sure enough, one space before the spot that I was supposed to go to opened up right there. And I was like, I see you. I see what you're doing there. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. So I pull up, and I literally had to take a moment. I said, you know what? That's a life lesson right there. It ain't about the parking space, but it's about this parking space right here. That's what I got, fellas. Yeah. That's what I got.
And that's the confidence factor, right? See, somebody's saying, man, this guy's talking about parking spaces. No, man, it's the little things. If you can find happiness and joy in the little things, you can find happiness and joy in the big things. And that's the thing. People think they're gonna wait for the $1 million to get happy. If you're not happy now, you're not gonna be happy with the million. You
forget it.
Listen. You gotta play
I'm
an inside game.
My Italian, forget about it.
Forget about it. You gotta play an inside game on the outside world, man. So my victory is very simple. I was waiting on a payment to come in. The payment didn't come in. Person said they're gonna send the payment in. I'm waiting. It didn't come. I said, hey, I got to go get it myself. I can't wait for that money. I got to go get some other money. Now, I had to put it down But guess what? Even though I was in hustle mode, it was still easy and relaxed because I was in my field of expertise. And that is a lesson in itself. So we're finding joy and happiness in the small things, and we're learning how to discover a way of life. Right. So we can be happy. I think it was said, whatever state I'm in, there we're to be content. Right. No matter what's going on outside my world, in my inside world, it's always calibrated, always harmonious. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Yeah. Peace and love, fellas.
Peace and love, bro.
Raising our vibration.
That's it, bro. Listen.
I love it. Well, listen.
Back over to you, Roots.
Hey, hold on before we go to rules. We just want to let you guys know. Thank you so much for those of you guys who are tuning in right now. We see you guys live. We honor you. We appreciate you. Good stuff. Good stuff. And of course, breaking boundaries. That's what we're talking about today. Rethinking your limitations for entrepreneurial breakthroughs. So if you're looking for the right tools, if you're looking for some strategies, if you're looking for some steps to be able to have some breakthroughs in your life, right? Because listen, breakthroughs are something you're always going to want because they're going to have some breakdowns. When we have some breakdowns, you're going to want to have some breakthroughs. So if you're looking for ways to rethink those situations that happen that cause you to have a breakdown so you can have a breakthrough, trust me, tune in for this particular guest. It's going to be phenomenal. So Rudy, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce our guest and bring him on. I'm excited for this topic and for this conversation tonight. Like I said, we have heart level conversations that will lead to more transformation. So get ready for this show. All right, Rudy, let's make it happen.
All right. So you know how we do. I like to do different types of intro. Of course, I'm going to tell you that this guy, you know, he's been on radio, he's been on TV, he's been in LA, Miami, them all over the place. And he's done some phenomenal things. As a matter of fact, we were reading his bio, and by the time we got done, we were like, okay, basically Superman. You know what I'm saying? You got kids, you got a wife, you got a business, you travel all over the place, and you still can come home at night and say, hi, honey. Like, you Superman. I mean, it's Superman Cruz. That's what I'm going to call him from now on. I know he's shaking his head, but listen, I mean... So I met this gentleman a few years ago, and him and I hit it right off. You know, one of the things I realized when you are a person of energy yourself and you're always exuding energy, and when you meet somebody that does the same thing as this next gentleman, it's easy to know why you connected so deeply and so quickly. And so him and I, we got to talking years ago, and I told him what I was doing. This was when we were just starting Unleash Your R.I.C.H.E.S, and I told him what I was doing, and he came in the community just that one day, and he was like, wow, like it's like that. And of course, you know, shared some things with us, complete strangers, right? But it showed me his heart, and it showed me his desire to do something greater than himself, and all these accolades that he's done from iHeartRadio to to being doing the MTV VMAs to Grammys and 10X GrowthCon, I'm sorry, and so many other things that he has hosted and been a part of. He also has a personal endeavor called 3 Re, which he's going to talk about reset, rethink, and restart. And we'll be talking about that later on in the show. But he is my brother from another mother. I know we don't quite look the same shade, but we got the same Gatorade. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for my man, Mr. Chris Cruz, in the building. What's going on?
that was like an Arsenio Hall opener. I'm just sitting here just nodding my head like, oh Lord, here we go. Oh man, what is up, boys? It's the men in the building. There you go. And Bobby, Rick, and Mike. Oh, yeah. Yes. You're like Bell Bib DeVoe. Like, are you guys going to the single like at the end of this whole thing? Like, what's going on here?
Oh, see, I gotta send you the video because if I send you the video,
don't send the video.
I gotta send him that video.
Not the video.
I gotta send him the video.
Wow.
Been there, done that, man. How you doing, my brother?
Whatever you guys had before you started the show today, just send me a little bit of that over here. Just Amazon, Amazon Prime.
You got it, man. You see the little drone come flying in, bro, landing in your front yard. You know what I'm saying? That's how Jeff Bezos doing it nowadays.
Hey,
yeah.
Listen, that's awesome. Listen, I want to say thank you first of all for giving me the opportunity and the blessing to be here on this present reality of a moment, right? So I know that people are going to look at this in a replay, whatever, but one of the things that I look at a lot these days is, your moment and your time is right now. It's what you have. Les Brown said something that I always love, and he says, let me see, I'm going to pull it up really quick because I just wrote it down. It says, where have you been? Why are you here?
Whoa.
Well, look like we lost him.
Man. Yeah, we just lost him.
Well, hey, listen. As I'm gonna give it a quote, another quote. Since he was giving a quote, I'm gonna give a quote. Disruption always follows intention. Remember that. Disruption always follows intention. So you can get disrupted.
There he is.
Okay, but we're gonna flow right back into it. Let's go, Cruz.
Push the wrong button. Don't push that.
He did that on purpose, so he can give the quote. Disruption
always follows intention. All right.
Where have you been? Why are you here? And where are you going? The big things in the middle. Why are you here? You know, and we look at the past, and it's like the past is the past, but the past creates the present creates the future, and that's kind of the power of three. You know, it's just, life's just been a journey. So, I don't know. You guys talk. I feel like I'm an interviewer. Like, I do this for a living, so I don't want to interview you guys.
No, we got you, brother. We got you, man. We will let you getting it out, you know, get the energy out and stuff like that, so we can get it started. Chris Cruz, man, tell the people, who is Chris Cruz? Where you from? I mean, you could be anything. You could be Jamaican. You could be, you know what I'm saying, Asian. You could be Puerto Rican, Cuban. I mean, you know, tell the people where you from, man. Tell us about little Chris.
Well, don't say little Chris ever again. I'm going to have to chop you in the neck. Kung Fu on you. I'm from Brooklyn originally, Puerto Rican, so New Yorican. My family's from Puerto Rico. Everybody, you know, migrated back to New York State. I spent a lot of time back here in Florida, and then when I was old enough to leave the house, I went back to New York, and that's kind of when I started a little bit of my career in South Florida. And then a lot of what happened with, you know, MTV and all those things happened in New York. I figured out, I think I figured out a little bit of life in New York. It wasn't until 2005 when I came back from New York to South Florida is when I really started to figure out a lot of things. But a lot of the realness didn't happen until much, much later. So that's the trailer, right? That's the trailer.
All right.
But yeah, married, 4 kids, married 16 years. My wife is from Brazil.
Brazil.
My youngest is 2.5. My oldest is 13. He thinks he's older than me, and sometimes I have to like put him in check, let him know who the alpha male in the house is. And always say, "Why you gotta see the alpha male? Like, that's so stupid. Just don't say that." Like, yeah, like he's Brazilian, half Puerto Rican, half Brazilian. He needs to know in this house. I'm the alpha male. I don't know, man. Like, you know, life is just been a real tremendous journey. COVID did a lot of things, I think, for all of us. And we're just trying to, you know, what was the title of this situation? Rethink Limitations. You stole that from me, by the way. That's my thing. Reset, rethink.
Yeah. So it's breaking boundaries. Rethink your limitations for entrepreneurial success or breakthrough. Yeah.
You know what's cool is I love that. So, like, what is the definition of limitations? I can look that one up. What's the definition of limitations? Let me see. Who's going to be faster than me? Hold on.
Yeah, we having class today. Go ahead. Let's pull it up.
Limitations. Do you have it up there?
No, I don't have it up. I was waiting for you. I was going to look, but I was, you know.
I was going to say, I was just trying to challenge you guys. See who's faster than me.
All right.
So limitations are restrictions or defects that hold back or hamper something or someone. It can be imposed to rules, conditions, principles, circumstances. So it's deficits, that hold people back or somebody back from something.
So when was the first time you felt you had limitations in your life or didn't have limitations?
Oh my God.
Let's start with that.
I mean, you know, if I have to think, I mean, I can benchmark and highlight many times that I've had limitations. I mean, if you don't have limitations, then you're not part of life. Like life is it has limitations, but life is also, to me, limitless. Limitations should never really, you know, to me, a limitation is an opportunity to do something more. It's when you say you can't do something, you want to do it. It's almost like being a kid or a child, right? When you tell the child that you can't do something, and I have 4 kids, I tell them no, and it's like I'm like saying yes, and it's like no, yes, it's like no,
right.
So
it's like no, but I dare you.
Yeah, that's I would say that's kind of like a limitation if you consider it that. But I think that people who, I don't say defy, but challenge or go after a limitation, those are, to me, that's the 1%. Oh, here's my limitation here too. Do you guys not know that I'm on a podcast right now? My little one just watching.
I love it. Like, I love it.
And my 2 boys are supposed to be watching right now. Lucas,
tell them come say hello.
Bring her out.
He's a good
limitation. She's my limitation.
Terrible.
Bye, Felicia.
Don't call me limitation, Daddy.
I have a whole studio, and like they don't get it, and it's just like.
Are they supposed to get it? Like, are they really?
No, they're not. You know what? It's going to be your highest rated show ever of 2000.
Yeah, and you know what's Chris. I'm going to interrupt you. You know why this is so valuable that the kids did that, and why this is so cool, right? Is because you show that this is the real show with real life, right? With all the artificial intelligence and all this artificial generated stuff, you know that this is real, right? Because you're not going to deliberately have the kids run in and disturb the show. That's how you know this is real. And that's valuable.
Unless you got AI kids.
Hey, I probably just taught AI how to do it, right?
Right.
Oh, God.
Come here. Let's say hi to everybody. Come here.
There you go. Let's say hi.
Yeah, bring them on. My
8-year-old Mila would literally, she won't take no for an answer, so she'll literally come on my back like a monkey, and then she'll just sit right here, stare at the camera, and act like it's normal. And
it is normal. It's normal.
And I'm like, I'm so sorry. But then literally 200 other people on the call, like moms and everything, like, oh, it's okay. That happened to me this morning. And thank you for COVID for allowing that to be,
normal.
Normal.
Yeah.
Wait, so I'm going to stand up right now and have no clothes under this. Here.
I'm like,
no. Those heart boxers you have on?
Chris, when you
I'm on a live podcast, did you not realize what's going on here? Like,
my son does.
Sean says my son does that. It's Sean's like my son does that.
And
so
we're back.
Chris, when we're talking about limitation, I was just thinking, being from Puerto Rico and New York, that those 2 things right there. I used to spend a lot of times in New York with my aunt. Bobby's from the Bronx, so there's a lot of things that, if you were to be honest, even being from New York and being Puerto Rican, that there are certain things you may have seen your parents not be able to do, or, talk to me about that. That's the part I want us to really dive into, and what that felt like for you growing up.
Ow, you just pinched a nerve. So limitations. Okay. All right. Are we doing shots?
Take us there, brother.
At this point? Like, what are we doing?
Let's do it, man. Take us there.
So, pretty much my whole life, everything that God gave me everything that I have first. And he gave me the gift of communication and creativity. And without that, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So if you really want to talk limitations, growing up as a kid, I grew up mostly with my father. Didn't have a big relationship with my mom. And most of that time I spent in my grandmother's house with my aunt, my cousin, my other aunt, my uncle, my dad, myself, my grandfather, and my grandmother, in like a if I think about it now, it's probably like 1,800 square feet house.
Wow.
So limitations, I grew up like probably a lot of us, and like a lot of, like you, Bobby, and you, Darian, and you, Rudy, and like a lot of people that are probably watching this, listening to this right now. I didn't grow up with anything. I grew up with the mentality of, work really hard and go to school and get a job and work for 30 years at one company and get a pension and this, that, and whatever. And then and sit on a patio like my grandfather did when he ended up retiring. I remember my grandfather, and I love him to this day, even though he's passed away, obviously. But he sat on the patio every day.
Wow.
And he would just sit on a chair in the patio like pretty much all day. And he would go to the grocery store sometimes, or a lot of times, to sit on a bench at the grocery store so he can get away from my grandmother. My grandmother would come outside and just give him hassle for no reason. Like, what are you doing? Right. It's like, what else do you want me to do? Like, he's like 70 years old. What are you gonna do? Just sitting there watching the cars drive by. So then he would like, oh, I'm gonna go to Publix and sit at Publix and shop for 3 hours. But limitations. I wasn't ever taught to be ambitious or to do everything. But since when I was a little kid, I always wanted to do a lot more than I think that I was raised and was groomed around to even think of, right? So since I was, I always wanted to perform. And back in the day when I was a kid, yes, I wanted to be like the new kids on the block. I will admit it here in front of everybody. I did. I thought I was like Jordan Knight, and I thought it was the coolest thing.
Stop.
I was like, it was the coolest thing. I'm like, look at these guys. Like, there's like 5. This is before NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Boyz II Men, for all of that. And I was like, look at they have like all these girls that like love them, and they're like this is amazing. And so I back in the day, I wanted to perform, I wanted to sing, I wanted to do a lot of different things. And I remember I did a talent show, and I lip synced a New Kids on the Block song, and I was Jordan Knight, and I did the right stuff. And back then, you got the right stuff. I did it. And then years later, when I was 12, I used to watch Showtime at the Apollo on my little black and white TV at the time. And I watched Amateur Night, Showtime at the Apollo, the original Amateur Night, Showtime at the Apollo. And back then, they would actually put the number at the end. And it says, if you want to be on Showtime at the Apollo, call 212-645-5555. And I would be like, oh, snap, okay. And I called one day, and I'm 12. And I was in New York. And I wish I can show you a photo, because I would show you the photo. So I called. I didn't have a show mom or anything like that. And I called, and I'm like, hey, hi, my name is Chris, and I want to be on the show. And the guy's like, yeah, come on down to Harlem. And this was when Harlem was Harlem. Like, it's like, I want to be you going to Harlem, not me going to Harlem. I'm like a really bad Puerto Rican, to be honest with you. So literally, I'm 12 years old. I take my Puerto Rican aunt, who has a very Italian husband in Brooklyn, old school, and we're going to 125th Street in Harlem. And he thought we were like Cuckoo Loco. So I go there and I audition. I just think that the guy who's producing the show and who's doing the auditions, I think it's just, he thought it was fun. He's like, yeah, let me put this little ass white boy on stage and let's see how that's going to go. So you want to know?
You got to have the drama, right? You got to have the drama.
You want to know what song I did? Right? You want to know? Are you ready?
Go ahead.
So this was the year that New Jack City came out, right? New Jack City. You guys remember New Jack City? Right?
Yes.
And I see had a song in New Jack City called Hustler.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I had my cross-collar jacket with my yellow Elysees, my Puerto Rican. I was looking dope. And I went out there and I rubbed the little thing, I rubbed that. And you know what's so funny? Because back then I wasn't scared. I was an adult than when I was a kid. Because when I was young, I didn't have limitations.
Yep.
Right? Becoming an adult and going through the world gave me limitations. Woo! You better record this and put this on Netflix.
It's recording.
So, when I think back of all the stuff that I really did, I was fearless. I didn't have technically a father to tell me no. By 16, I was doing nightclubs and doing a whole bunch of stuff and just doing my own thing. I didn't make a lot of good decisions, but I didn't have anybody to really kind of reel me in. I dropped out of high school when I was, in 9th grade. I ended up going back to college when I was 30, I got my bachelor's degree in business, so I'm educated. I'm educated, and I owe a lot of money to Sally Mae and Navien and all those other people. But the point I want to take, so I did the show. I got booed, and that was the same year that Biz Markie was out with "Say He's Just a Friend."
Friend, yep. Oh, baby, you got what I need. Yep.
So I'm outside under the marquee, and if you're from New York, you get it. So I'm 125th Street. I'm under the marquee, Apollo Theater, right? Amateur night. They put the little things on the board, and Biz is out there, and I wasn't expecting it. And I knew who he was. Obviously, I knew music. So he pulled me over, and I have a photo. I wish I could show you the photo. But he pulls me over, and he's like, "What's up, little man?" He's like, "Don't even worry about that. Don't stress. You did a good job. Just keep doing your thing." And I took a photo with him. And I wish I can really show you the photo because I can legitimately show the photo. So I have my cross-color jacket. Biz is like that, And years later, Biz became, Biz obviously passed away. But my whole life, I just always attacked everything. When like radio, for example, when I went back to New York, I performed, I toured, I've done a lot of different things, when I was a kid. And when I went back to New York, I said, I want to be in radio. And I'm in Market 1, which is New York. And people are like, well, we moved back in 2000, 2001, 2000. They're like, you can't get into radio in New York. That's like that's like me coming out of high school and be like, I'm gonna go to the NFL. And you're like, yeah, it's gonna happen. And I'm like,
right,
yeah, whatever. So, but a lot of things that when you look at the limitations too, when I look back at the things that I ended up pursuing and I ended up just getting, then it also leads me into now that I know what it is of manifestation, right? That we create, we're creators of our universe and our reality. And if you even want to take it to a biblical perspective, in scripture, it says, seek and you shall find, knock and the door shall be open unto you, and that to me is in itself manifestation, right? So again, because I was fearless, I think I was able to manifest things better and faster because I didn't have limitations.
Yeah.
I didn't, the limitations are just here. It's not this. It's not this. It's not even this.
Right.
It's here.
Right.
You limit yourself in your brain. So I said, I want to do radio. And I kept calling people and I kept, and I was, I started working some stuff. I did stuff from MTV. I was doing, production, and I got to do some really cool shows and working at Radio City Music Hall and work with some major celebrities. And I remember the first job that I got interviewed for at KTU. Well, it was originally KTU New York. So you probably know 103.5, the beat in New York. It's like a top 40 rhythmic station. And originally, when I finally went in, because I called the guy so many times, he's like, all right, come in. So he kind of brings me in, he sees my resume at the time, and he's like, oh, you're doing this and MTV. He goes, why do you want to work in radio? I go, well, and I wasn't applying to be a radio personality. I was just applying to be in radio. So he goes, well, all these, you're doing all this cool stuff. I said, well, I'm just trying to get my foot in the door. I just want to work in radio. So he's like, well, I don't have anything here. I was really trying to get into Z100, which then I ended up working at Y100 Miami, but Z100 New York, that was a big station. They didn't obviously even answer my phone call. So he's like, well, I have a position answering phones at 101.1, Jammin' 105, 101.1, whatever, something like that, which is now Power 105.1 in New York, right? Years ago, it was a old school R&B classic, like old school, and I was a phone operator. Anyways, long story short, so I'm answering phones there. I'm getting paid like $8 an hour. And I remember the programming director for one of the other radio stations came in because he managed 2 or 3 of the stations. And I went up to him being a 20-something-year-old kid. And I introduced myself, hey, whatever. Fast forward, a position came up to answer phones at KTU. I took that position. 3 months into that, the vice president of programming, who was the boss at the point, Frankie Blue, he brings me into his office one day and he asked me, I remember this like it was yesterday. I was a phone operator and all I was doing answering phones. Back then they would have people answering phones in the studio. Hey, thank you for calling, KT, boom, boom. Oh, what's your request? Boom, boom, boom. So that's what I did. So to tell you the manifestation of how it works and to take away the limitations, I just did it. And one day he brought me into his office and he asked me to go get him Starbucks and something downstairs. So I did. Next day he calls me back in. Chris, can you come do this for me? So he has me go run and do something for him, whatever it was. This went on for a week. On Friday of that week, he brings me in. He goes, let me ask you a question. Would you want, how would you like to work full time? And I ended up going from being a phone operator, making a couple of bucks an hour, to becoming the executive assistant to the senior vice president of programming for Clear Channel.
Wow. And
then about 4 months later, after several months, I was going into the studio by myself at night at 6, 7 o'clock at night. I would find a studio and I would sit there in the studio and I would push buttons and I would record and I would ask some of the DJs, because I was the executive assistant, so they would listen to me. And I say, how do you do this? And how do I record that? And okay, Chris, you got to do this, you got to do that, whatever. And I ended up putting a tape together. And months later, I gave the tape to my boss, who was the programming director. And I used to do the schedule for all the DJs. And then this is how it started radio. So this is a really nice story. So one day I'm putting the schedule together and it was going to be Thanksgiving weekend. And I'm putting the schedule together and I look there and I look down. And back then I went by a different name. And I was like, why is my name here? Like it said, Saturday, 3 to 5, Chris Cruz. And I went into the other music director's room and I walk in, I go, what? And he goes, don't fuck up. So that weekend, I got my first on-air live thing in New York, right? When everybody could not do New York City. And from that day on, I ended up doing New York for several years. I went to Long Island. I did a BLI Long Island. Then I was almost at KISS FM in LA. And then I ended up at, Y100 Miami for 15 years. And that's really where a lot of what I did blossomed, was in Miami. And so, but it's possible.
Wow.
So there is no limitations. It's where you limit your mind to be. That to me is the limitation.
Man, Chris, that is an incredible. Go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, I was going to say, Chris, that's a very powerful story, man. And you know what is so cool about your story? I'm listening to you speak and I'm like, wow, this is so cool. There's so many similarities here, like, New York and the whole 9 yards, the Apollo. I grew up 5 blocks from the Apollo and the whole 9. Your story, I want to know from you. You said, I wanted to do this, I did it. I wanted to do this, I did it. I wanted to do this, I did it. And during that course, did you hear the word no? Did you hear not now? Or did you always just hear, I got to take another step. I got to take another step. What was your internal communication? What did that look like to you?
Great question. Thank you. I would hear no a lot. Yeah. But I didn't, it's like what I said earlier about the kids, right? It was like, they were like my parents telling me, no, you can't. And I'm like, okay, no comprendo. And it's like, I was at a point, and I'm still kind of at this point. I'm a Capricorn, so the Capricorns are like that. But when I want something, like, you can't tell me that I'm not going to have it. And, if we were, I don't know how much time we have, but if we were to fast forward, a lot of what brought me to the power of 3 in life in general, and where I'm at these days, is not being limitless and not accepting no for an answer, and not accepting failure for an answer, and not accepting a wall for an answer, and not accepting, just saying, you know what? Okay, boom. And that's a problem with the mass majority of the world. They are limitless and they are limited. And when you put a block in front of them, they stop. And me, right. Block from them, I'm like, okay, wait, no, okay, let me go this way. No. And I'll find a way to get around the block or something, and and sometimes in real world, especially men, it holds you up. And sometimes it'll captivate you for a minute and just keep you kind of like stuck. And I've been to the point where like I've been stuck. And as a man now in my 40s, there's been times in my career, in my life that I look back at certain things. I'm like, why do I feel paralyzed right now? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like back then I would run. But the limitations come as you get older and as life, punches you and kicks you and drags you through the mud. But it's okay, because then if you are limitless, then you will find ways around that. So to answer your question, Bobby, it's just like I didn't. I would. People would say no, but I didn't really. No wasn't. It wasn't. It was. No wasn't what I wanted, right? So that's not what I want. So okay, well you go over here, and I'm gonna go after what I want.
Yeah.
And I started my business. I started everything. I did everything that I did. I did it just because I did it. My first entertainment company, like I didn't have any money. I got a credit card and I bought some turntables and a mic, 2 turntables and a microphone, and I just and I got at it, and just man, it's been a journey. I can say that.
Yeah. It's powerful because when you were talking, right? First of all, is Brooklyn in the house?
Without a doubt.
So, when you were speaking, the reason why I asked the question, because of what you said. You said the guy asked you to come in, you did this, you did that. And, he said, you're so persistent, like you kept coming back. And it reminded me of Les Brown's story, because you mentioned the Les Brown quote earlier. Yeah, he's drink, drink.
I thought about that.
He said he kept coming back. He's like, maybe I thought somebody died, maybe somebody quit. Things change, and so many times, like you say, when we get older, we're in this more cemented mindset, right? That we think that no is permanent. Well, they said no, and they mean what they say. And not my desire is rich, my desire is big, and I'm going to pursue anyway. Maybe something changed. So we kind of, I think we start to think like in this drying cement thinking, where we think that what people say is permanent and things won't change, and we kind of get set in the way. So, I just admire you for, your ambition and your desire to just keep pushing. So I thought it was powerful because it sounded like Les Brown there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And, I lost that in the middle of things. And so really quickly, because we have a lot of time and I don't want to, obviously go over, but so the power of 3, I mean, I obviously still do a lot of things now. I do a lot of national speaking. I do a lot of big conferences. I was just at SolarCon in Utah with like 5,000 people. I'm doing another show coming up. I'm actually this week coming up on Thursday. I'm doing a big event for F1. So that's a big passion of mine. But when I turned 40, I kind of freaked out. And I had have this really good career. I'm in radio, have a beautiful wife, beautiful kids. We live in a great place. Like it's not always, the grass is not always greener, and it's life. Well, 40 hit hard, really. And I was like, okay, what do I do next? Like, what's next? Like, okay, I do radio, but that's not going to last that much longer. And, and I was thinking about it from several different levels, like financially and just me as a man, as a person, like what am I leaving for my kids? Are they going to remember me because I interviewed Kim Kardashian and Justin Bieber, or like, are they going to remember me because I did something very significant, or what? And then financially, and then COVID hit and a whole bunch of things. So the power 3 came from this, it was this mindset that I had at the time of reset. And people talk about that all the time. Reset. And I'm like, I gotta reset. And a lot of it became a little spiritual for me, because when I look back at everything that I've written and the stuff that I'm producing at the moment, there's a lot of God in it. And I said, how do you reset? I'm 40 years old. Like, I'm starting over. What am I going to do? Go back to school? Am I going to go start a new job? Like, go back to that first thing that I did in radio? Or how do you, and this is the problem that people have. So for me, my avatar are men 35 to 55 that are married, men of God, business people. That's me. And that's who ultimately I want to assist and help, because it is such a tough place to be when you're a man that is married or been married, have kids, you had a business, and we deal with women deal with a lot of things, and a big shout out to moms and women out there, but men, you know, we deal with a lot, and then we take it all in, and then we just like it corrupts our every being. And it's like, well, how do I do this? And now I'm married, I have kids, I'm in this thing, and I'm working, and now I got a degree, and I'm paying for it, and then I'm like, okay, well, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do this. So what do I do next? So this whole reset concept came into my head. I'm like, how do you do that? So reset means to start at zero, to start over, right? And then where re came in is R-E means again and anew, again and anew. And that came to me later. And as I'm like pondering all this stuff, and I'm just pounding my head, trying to figure out like, okay, what am I going to do next, Cruz? What are you going to do? How are you going to figure this out? What happens if you lose rating? And then, you know, shot of tequila, get rid of it. Shot of tequila, get rid of it. And that's what men do, right? Most people they do stuff to numb that, because they're like, get out of here, leave me alone. So then it just started to evolve, and I started to and like I've done with a lot of other projects that I worked on in just my life. It's just I don't stop thinking about it. And it's every day in the middle of the night I'm thinking, and I would write down, and I take out my phone at the gym, and I just notes and things that I would hear, and I started learning about all these motivational speakers, and then I started to get away from the motivational side and started to learn that the motivation was just a substance of emotion, and I started to dig in, learning about the mind and subconscious and conscious and neuroplasticity in the mind. Like, so power 3 came from the power of resetting, but I realized it was too much for any one person to just stop and start over, right? Everything has to be a process. Cooking is a process. Learning how to drive is a process. Raising kids is a process. Having a family and being married is a process. So I'm like, okay, how do I do this for me? And then how can I figure out a way that whatever I do, I can mirror that to other people, so they can kind of redo what I can do. Because the Grant Cardones and all these people, they write all these books and they tell you how to become a millionaire, whatever, but like, okay, and how do I do that? And you're waiting. Okay, if you take my $50,000 class, I will teach you. And you still take it, and you're like halfway through the class, you've been in 5th grade, and how do I do that? So reset, rethink, restart came to me. And it was like a ready, set, go, a 1, 2, 3. You know, it was like it gave people an opportunity to like just put it in compartments and just piece it out. So when you reset, you have to start back at zero. It's marriage, you got a divorce, and you're getting remarried. You got to start at zero. You can't start at 30. You can't start at 50. You got to start at zero. And then so reset was like understanding why you want to change something and for what reason, right? So the reason. And then you have to rethink it. So when you rethink it, you're going to take this, you're going to try to put together what you need to do to gather the information for your reset, your reason, right? So now you're rethinking, okay, and I got to get the ingredients to create what I got to create. And then the restart is then like Tony Robbins will always say, like, then take massive action. So you reset, start at zero, rethink, figure out, okay, now what's my reason? What do I need to do? I want to, I got divorced. I want to lose weight. I have an addiction. Whatever the piece is, whatever it is, figure out the elements that you need that are going to help you get there. And then to restart it, then you're going to, that's the ready, set, go. And then you take massive action, you move forward. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So in the book and the things that I'm putting together, everything is always a re, because there's so many amazing reads, right? So reborn, rebuild, there's tons of them. And when I started to get into it, I was like, wow, there's so many amazing reads. And when you think of the word read this, rebuild, reborn, to me, they're all amazing, positive, limitless words, right? I mean, think of most re's in your world, and you're going to see like there's positivity to it.
Right.
So I'm still in a reset, but it's amazing. And the beauty about being knowing that you can reset gives you, I think, anyone an opportunity to know that there's still limitless. Because if you don't know you can push the reset button, then you're just going to stay stuck. If your phone freezes, you ever have your phone freeze?
Yep.
If your phone freezes, you don't sit there, oh man, my phone is frozen. Oh, it sucks. No, you figure out how to reset the phone because you need to get back to life. So I've gone through a lot of things, but it's good because that's where you learn and that's where you grow and that's what life is all about. And COVID was something else, but I still didn't back down and I still didn't say no. And I found a way to make it through. It took away radio, it took away the entertainment company, but God was good to me, and I still was able to survive and get through. And a lot of it too is manifestation, and we're not in this 3-dimensional physical world that we all think that we are in. We're here technically, but my kids also play video games, so they're in that video game too.
We are spirit beings, my friend. Before we let you go, man, let people know where they can reach you. I think there's so much power to what you're saying that I don't know about you guys, fellas, but we definitely got to bring Chris back. There's a lot more elements than I know he's has time to give us. So before you leave, let people know where they can reach you, because I think there is a conversation that needs to be had for a lot of us, especially getting in our 40s, in our 50s. I know I've had several resets in my life, and yeah, man. So let them know where they can reach you.
I appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, as we, it's crazy. As you get older, you start to look at things differently. Sometimes you get, I get a little unnerved and I don't say scared, but it's, yeah. So anyways, reset, rethink, restart.com. That's, you can get a one sheet, which is completely complimentary. It'll kind of give you a little bit of a breakdown of what the reset, the Power 3 is. And ChrisCruzLive.com and Chris Cruz Live across the board. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I was lucky when I got that. I was able to lock all those in because now they don't exist. And that's kind of it for the most part. I appreciate you guys for having me on and allowing me to share stories.
If you stick around for a little bit, we'll come right back to you, man. We would love to wrap up with you in a bit.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, guys.
Thanks again, Chris.
Back to you, Bob.
Back to you, Bobby.
Oh man, I love that. You're mute, Bobby.
Rudy said, "Oh, Chris has to come back. He has so much more." I was like, "You got to buy his $50,000 course." That's how you get all the information, bro. That was good, man. It was rich. Yeah. There's so much more I wanted to ask him because we always talking about support, right? So a couple of questions I was curious about is with those resets and hitting 40, was he doing it by himself, or did he have who was his biggest supporters, and did he have a group of people? Like, what was some of the tools that he implemented and resources that he implemented? So I was very curious about the support system because even Lamont and I are doing similar things right now, and some days is challenging, but we call each other kind of like every day, and we're able to talk about the industry of what we're doing, and we can kind of laugh about it. So it makes it's not as burdensome, right? Because you got to get it done. But we shared that, and we were talking about someone else that we know who was in the same industry, and I was thinking about that person, and that person was kind of doing it by themselves, right? And so it's clearly a different when you have that support. So that was some of the questions I had. So when we come back next time, we'll be able to get that. Darren, what did you get from that?
I think also, Bobby, we can offer Unleash as part of having a resource that you can share the spaces where you feel like you need to reset or rethink or restart. I think that's really important to mention that as well. Go ahead, Darren.
Yeah, no, it was phenomenal. I was just thinking about the whole reset, rethink, restart concept, and I would have loved to go into a little bit more into that. But I think he hit it spot on. I love that he shared his story and he talks about the limitation. You can clearly see that there were some things there that really developed a mindset that allowed him to press forward. And although we didn't go into that a lot, it really is an example of the state that we all can embody when we have the confidence factor. I call that the confidence factor, right? Here in our community, it is the confidence factor. It's the belief that no just means next opportunity. No just means, hey, it's another opportunity right around the corner. It doesn't stop you. It just, some people try to stop you with it. But if you are unstoppable, if you have confidence factor, you just keep moving forward. And so Chris has embodied that, and he's a presence for that. So I love what he's saying. And, go over to reset, rethink, and restart.com. Check out Chris. He said he has a one sheeter over there. So I'll definitely be going over to the website and checking it out. So definitely encourage you guys to do it as well. So with that, that's my wrap up, man. And I know we are at 7:32. So I know we have an inspiration injection. So let's get it going.
Sounds good. Well, listen, guys, we appreciate you guys watching. We hope you got something was said today that resonate with you. If something was said that resonates with you, go over and check out the Reset, Rethink, Restart.com, Chris, and get ready to join us, man. We have Unleash Your R.I.C.H.E.S coming up. We're totally excited about that. You guys can message us if you're interested in resetting, restarting as well, and having a support system for you to reset. You don't want to do this alone. You don't have to do life alone, especially when you have the confidence factor. With that being said, tonight's inspiration injection comes from none other than my favorite author, Jack Canfield. And he says, for every reason it's not possible, there are hundreds of people who have faced the same circumstances and succeeded. That's from Jack Canfield. Appreciate you guys for watching. That's our inspiration injection. This is Confidence Factor Talks, where we have heart level conversations that lead to transformation. And what we always say here at Confidence Factor, in everything that you do, in everything that you do, make sure you keep it
heart level.
Heart level, baby. Heart level.
See you guys next week.
All right, gentlemen. See you guys next week. It's a wrap.